It's like this little dirty little bass line.
I don't fucking care. Can we move on to a new segment, please?
Welcome to Just Two Fans, a sports show about sports,
Obviously.
about life,
Because sports are life.
and about just whatever the hell we feel like talking about. So, let's go.
What is up, everybody?
What's good, y'all?
I'm Jerry Freelander. That's Eli Johnson and super producer Cam. Say hi, Cameron.
Hi, Cameron.
This is the Just Two Fans podcast. Just Two Fans podcast. I'll
You know
get
what,
that
Jamie?
right
I'm gonna
one of these days.
interrupt your intro a little bit here. We don't involve people enough, I think. So we said say hi, Cam. Now say hi, chat. If you're watching, chat and listening, say hi. Come by. Say hello for us.
Cameron
wanna
will be
hear
the one
you.
talking to you mostly, but we may jump in there from time to time.
I just said hi.
You did. I'll say hi too, just for fun.
Hi, chat.
Engagement.
Woo! Unique chatters.
It's not engagement farming if we're the ones sowing the engagement. Okay.
Exactly.
I was gonna get there, by the way, but I'm glad you interrupted me. It's awesome. It's great.
There he is. There's our MVP.
Helmet.
There's the one.
Every week, without
Every
fail, my guy.
All right. Obviously, we have a lot of college football to talk about because
Yes.
week one happened, and if you're living under a rock, we're gonna have some takes about a couple teams, but one in particular. And I'm sure you're anxious to hear those. But as per usual, we're going to start off with, we used to call it podium. Now we just kind of ramble on about a couple other random sports.
Yeah.
For like
Here's
5
the
minutes.
thing: as college football ramps up, it's going to be less so, even more, because we
Well,
have more
and-
to talk about college football.
And you can't call it podium when what we talk about, like the gold medal, is college football always.
Yeah, it's always that is our gold medalist with a bullet every time.
Yep.
They're gold. That's gold, silver, and bronze.
Yep.
The college football is the Katie Ledecky of podium.
There you
all right.
go. There you go. But we did have an F1 race this last weekend, and local F1 expert Cameron's going to give us his takes on it. Right?
Yeah. So the Italian Grand Prix at Monza happened. It was a great race. I think that we got to see a lot. Max didn't podium, so that's pretty cool. It kind of opens up what can happen for the rest of the season. But congrats to Charles Leclerc for taking that P1.
Dude, didn't you call that? Didn't you call Leclerc?
I think you called Leclerc on the
I think you
podium.
called.
I called Leclerc on the podium, and I thought it was going to be
Yeah,
McLaren
sure.
1-2. I thought they were going to finish. And then I also called Albon scoring. Albon got 2 points.
Hey,
So,
look at Alex.
I actually kind of crushed my predictions
did.
this week. But
I'm
yeah,
still.
so Leclerc-
I'm getting closer, boys, to my crushed prediction.
dude, you are. So yeah, Leclerc won, Norris, Piastri 2-3 respectively. Again, we saw Norris start on pole and not be able to lead the first lap.
What's up with his starts?
I don't know. I don't know if it's nerves, if it's the car, what it is. I mean, there are some tracks, and I haven't really dug that deep. There are some tracks that you want to start P2 because you get the inside line and you can just you can start off a little bit better. You can have a better angle at the corner. But I think the biggest takeaway from this is McLaren's letting him race, because in the second chicane, Piastri said thank you very much, and that was the last time Norris had a
Pretty
chance to pass him.
Fuck Norris's race.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
corner.
it absolutely did. He said he went into it wrong. You know, he should have gone out.
I mean, he
know,
for sure
wider.
did, but like,
And it's just one of those things. And then Leclerc said, "Oh, look, you guys slowed each other down. Now I'm into 2." And then Ferrari had the strategy to keep him in 1, which is growth. Growth for Ferrari.
That is a rare thing to say about
Growth
Ferrari.
for Ferrari. And seeing Ferrari win an Italian race, it's always nice. Tifosi are passionate fans. And for
No doubt.
Leclerc to win his home race at Monaco and then Ferrari to win an Italian race, it's good. It's good stuff. It does good things for your F1 soul. But Lando's not out of it yet. I did the math. He could still win the Drivers' Championship. He has to get first place in the next 8 races.
Mhm.
So all of them that are left. And Max has to finish lower than second in 3 of them. And he'll beat him by a handful of points. If Max were to take second in every race behind Lando would lose by 6 points.
I don't think he's going to take second in every race.
I think we're going to keep seeing this where he doesn't get on the podium.
The Red Bull did not look even competitive this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he took second in the Netherlands, and then he took second in Great Britain. Max hasn't won since Spain, so it's been 6 races since his last win.
That's crazy.
And
how dominant he was last year.
Yeah, I mean,
last 2 years, really.
We're at an interesting point with Formula One where teams have started to rebound because this year we have 4 multiple winners. Now, last year there was 2 multiple winners and they both were on Red Bull. So the gap is closed. That Red Bull's window
is gone.
Good.
Red Bull's window is gone. They're having issues in the pits, and they have the standard for pit team for.
I feel like
pit crews.
we said it with like all the regulations that came down. We're starting to see the balance that Formula One has been trying to do. Right, the FIA has been trying to bring balance back to the sport, and all the regulations that they set in. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, like that is. We're seeing it now. We're seeing the results of that.
And I mean,
awesome.
And I think, with Formula One, the past couple of years, we've seen Max be absolutely dominant. And in the same kind of time frame before that, Lewis was dominant, but the field itself was so strong that you could win 6 races and get a driver's championship because it was so all over the place. And I think we're getting back to that, is that you're going to have 5, 6, 7 winners over a season. And we're not going to know until the last week because there's 3 people that with a P1 could do it, or, and it's great in sport where, you could take second in the last race, and depending on who gets first, like you can make this happen. So, I think it's good for F1. It's good for fans who, especially Americans who are like, NASCAR is more exciting because they have a different winner every week. And for a while there, I was like, they may only turn left for 90% of their races, but at least someone new is standing on top of their car, throwing champagne everywhere.
We have 8 different race winners this year.
We have 4 different race winners. 4 people have won 2 races or more.
No, race winners.
Race winners, yes.
Racers.
Yes.
8?
Charles, Lando, Hamilton, Piastri, Max,
Sainz.
So that not 8, that's 5.
George?
Yeah, George. So 6, I think.
George, Lewis, Carlos, Oscar, Charles, Lando, Max. That's 7.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
When we only had 3 last year, and Carlos was because both Red Bulls crashed out.
And really basically won. Like any race that Max finished, he won.
Yeah. He didn't finish 3 races. He didn't win 3 races.
What else is crazy? Sorry, I just had like this weird realization in the middle. It's totally non sequitur. We've been doing this podcast for over 4 years.
That is nuts.
We started this in July of 2020.
That's nuts.
Chat, if you're actually out there, listener, don't start a podcast when there's no sports.
It was awesome, man.
You end up just bullshit. And it was a great way to see your friends.
It was awesome.
We were just hanging out. We couldn't do anything
that's
else.
what it was, man. Like, it was just like, hey, like, let's just like, we love talking about sports together, and let's just like this is how it initially went too. With the playbook was like, yeah, it's just like we like talking sports. Let's just put it on the radio and see what happens. And we've been blessed with people who regularly listen to the show. some out of the country. We have people out of the country who still regularly listen to our show.
Like every week. It's awesome.
It's wild to me. But anyways, yeah, we've been doing it for 4 years.
4 years. And we finally have F1 back on track.
8 more
Finally.
races, 3 more sprints, and nothing's for sure. Nothing's set in stone. We don't have a winner yet. And I think Red Bull's going to lose the constructors.
They almost have already.
They've got a 12-point lead on McLaren and only a 39-point lead on Ferrari. So top 3 could all strike. Ferrari's a little less likely, especially with the speed of both McLarens. But as long as McLaren keeps putting 2 people on the podium.
I don't know, man. If Charles has a race like that anymore, like if Ferrari doesn't fuck up their strategy, it's still a really fucking fast car.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's just constructors comes down to both. So like if Charles can win, but if Carlos is out of the points, it don't matter.
You're right. And Carlos wasn't out of the points. He got, 5th? But
yeah, he took P5.
It doesn't matter. I mean, like, McLaren's fumbling this too, by the way. Like, they totally screwed up their pit strategy on Sunday. And the fact that they're not just leaning into Lando as their championship contender is going to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, I think it will in 2 years when he goes to a new team.
It's going to bite them this year, but yeah. Also,
here's the thing: for them, this is found money. They were not going to win it. Like it's only been since after the first handful of races they really started being competitive, and people even talking about the possibility. So I mean maybe, but I mean if they finish P2, then in constructors and they have drivers that are up in the top 5, and right now they're sitting at 2 and 4. I mean, McLaren is back. And they will continue to be back and competing. So yeah, I mean, should they have done whatever papaya strategy and played team orders and played nice? Probably. I mean, honestly, what it should have been is Oscar, get behind Lando. Let's protect each other. Let's drag each other through, past a second from Leclerc. And then if you guys want to race, you can race. But let's not do it on the second, on
any of these teams. Like if I was in charge of a team, and this is a good way to lose a driver, so it was probably a bad strategy. But like every single team on the grid has a driver 1 and a driver 2, whether they want to admit it or not. They have a driver who's better than the other one, and they should be ranked. Like, you're our driver. If you guys are in the same position, if you're 1, 2, or 5, 6, or whatever, you are swapping, and that's your job as the number 2 driver on the team. If you don't want to be the number 2 driver on the team, be the better fucking driver.
Well, and Oscar was the better driver this week. He went for the gap that was there. And like Ayrton Senna said, if you stop going for a gap, you're no longer a racing car driver. And he went for it. Lando left it open.
You're right.
That was bad driving by Lando.
This makes for better racing. It's just a dumb strategy by McLaren. I'd rather have them race and get the action we had on that second chicane. Don't get me wrong. It was awesome. But I think in terms of what McLaren needs, that's not what they need. They need Lando to get as many points as possible.
Yeah, I think they're at this point where they have to allow for both drivers to get a shot at it because they're not convinced that, I mean, it's an outside chance that that Lando's going to win drivers. Now, if they've made the decision 4 races ago or 3 races ago that they're going to let them race every single race so that they can help themselves and, as long as they don't crash, then it is what it is. If Lando can win it like he has, like he did in the Netherlands, if he can win the race, then, it will be his. He said in his post-race interview, Oscar was better this week. Even after that turn, he's like, I should have been able to catch him. I was just not driving well enough.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to Lando. He's never once whined about it. Never once. Even when he absolutely could have. In where was that? Hungary?
Yeah.
When they did the swap. Like the only team's orders McLaren's done all year was to take Lando out of first. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah, that was silly.
I mean, it was the right thing. Like, if you're just talking morally, what was the right thing to do in that case? Because their strategy did absolutely fuck Oscar.
Yeah.
And so, like, if they fucked him out of a win because of strategy, that sucks. But, like, that's also part of the gig.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have two strategists, one for each car. They are on different strategies. I think if someone loses out from first because that their engineer has a different strategy, it just doesn't work out. The other guys who got it right should not get punished. So like people were saying, and I was looking on Twitter, and the two camps within the McLaren fandom for Lando fans and Oscar fans are just they're awful. It's just not a good place to be. Because none like they just don't get it. It's like if you have a favorite team and they can't do anything wrong, and it's always the other person's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can look at this a little objectively, you're like, yeah, I mean, race was Lando's. He doesn't start well out from pole, and proved that he wasn't the better driver. And then Leclerc passed both of them. So there's not even like, I mean, a guarantee that Lando would have won. So I think that's the one thing that sucks is Leclerc was fast and he drove very technically well. But got a handful more races, couple sprints. Probably one of the best days in Austin for sports in October.
I can't wait for that weekend, dude.
I get to sit at one place on my couch starting on Friday and watch races and watch sports. And
no, you're coming over here, but we'll figure that out later.
True.
So
I'm gonna have to spend the night if we're gonna watch Formula One.
I didn't watch the race.
No, that race is at like 3.
Oh, so I've been not contributing to this conversation at all. What I have been doing is just looking up our stats over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I can't trust.
That's the Formula One segment.
That's the Formula One segment.
Finito.
Cut off and just like twice.
So
Eli's random rants.
Sorry, it's it happened.
His ADHD is kicking in,
dude. It's fucking flaring like a motherfucker. But I've been looking at our analytics, and I can't trust our listener count because I literally went back to one of our episodes, and it said we had like 14 listens on it, and then on Apple Podcast alone, it had 67. So I was like, this isn't real. So our aggregator's terrible, but this is not good at aggregating. However, we do have 28 different countries.
28
different countries have listened to our podcast. Obviously United States is number 1. Guess what number 2 is? Let's have a little game. Guess what number 2 is? This one's not too crazy out there.
Germany.
Nailed it. Are you looking right now?
No, I can't. Okay. I don't even know where that stuff is.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Oh, good. Okay. So number 2 is Germany. Number 3, again, pretty not a stretch.
UK?
Nope.
Not a stretch.
Is it continental Europe? So,
nope.
So not Ireland? Is it Ireland?
Nope.
Canada?
It's Canada. I will give you guys $100 if you can guess number 3 or number 3 of our foreign countries. $100.
Croatia.
Nope.
I like that guess though.
That's a good guess.
That's a good guess. I'm gonna say Thailand, somewhere Southeast Asia.
Nope. It is Rwanda.
What?
Is the number 4.
Wouldn't I guess that one? You're right.
Yeah.
Yep,
and then it's right. UK, France, and Singapore. So
hey,
all your other guesses are pretty much in there.
Great.
But yeah, it's just like I was like looking, I was like, damn, all right, like we got some reach sometimes,
Sometimes.
And there's more people listening than we thought. So maybe we should probably get better at what we do.
Chat sees a foot behind you, and it's
Huh?
wigging them out.
Yep, it's Haley's foot. Goes away.
That's funny. All right. Couple other things before we get to college football. NFL starts tomorrow.
Cool.
I'm more excited for this season than I have been, mostly actually all
Duck is that
because Bo
quarterback of
Nix
the Broncos.
is the quarterback of the Broncos. And just today, he was announced as one of the captains of the Broncos, which is a big deal because he is the first rookie to be named a Broncos captain since 1967.
Damn.
If that tells you the opinion that the team has of Bo Nix.
It's one of those things where like everybody was like shitting on his age, right? Which is what one was ridiculous because the other two of the other three quarterbacks drafted that high were
Older than him.
older. Or, no, they weren't older, but they were like
Or the same age.
weeks younger.
Yeah.
Like I think
Michael Penix is like 3 weeks younger than he is.
and then the guy went number 2. Why can't I think of his name right now? He was at Arizona State, then went to LSU. What was his name? Jaden Daniels. He's like a month younger than Bo. So
yeah,
outside of that, but like, you know, maybe this is showing like, oh, the like experience matters. You know,
I mean, that was one of the things that Sean Payton was like oogling over was just how quickly he could pick shit up because of how much football he's played.
Yeah.
Like all the experts I see talk about him are like the real experts, like football players, former players, like I'm blanking his name. Doesn't matter. Anybody that like breaks down, yeah, anybody that like breaks down his film is like, he is a pro already. Like, because he's making reads that NFL quarterbacks make, but guys that come out after 2 or 3 years of playing college football don't get until like year 2 or 3 into the NFL.
I mean, you know, Cam Newton was also praising him as well. And
yeah,
you know, so that
I'm excited. I'm not going to sit here and say the Broncos are going to win 12 games and
no, because they still have a lot of gaps other than Bo.
Yeah, there's a ton of talent gap, but I'm excited to watch this climb because the Broncos are very clearly committed to Bo Nix, and I'm just stoked. So
yeah,
I'm actually ready for the NFL season for the first time since Peyton Manning basically retired.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
All right. That's enough other sports. We have college football to talk about. Let's just start with our week 1 recap. First of all, I'm going to give you an update on how we all did with our picks. Spoiler alert, we all suck at doing the spread.
Yeah.
Eli's the best of us, and he's 500.
And I'm the only one who can't bet on it.
I was the best at picking money line this week. I was 23-2. That's pretty fucking awesome. I'm just going to pat myself on the back. That is pretty stellar. And fuck you, Florida State. 2 of my 5 losses already this season are fucking Florida State. Fuck you forever.
I was 22-3. Dang. Pretty good still. Yep. We know ball. We know ball.
22-3. Right? We kind of know what we're talking about. Cameron and Chris were both 21-4.
Well, did you guys notice that in our college pick'em too? It's the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Are tied for first.
Yeah.
With Trevor.
Yep. Almost like we know what the fuck we're talking about sometimes.
Yeah. So you only give me 10 games to look at.
Trevor listens.
Yeah. But
so we're taking credit for him too.
If Trevor wins, that money's split between us, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I already paid him out for week 1, so yeah, from here on out, we'll split it 3 ways.
The spreads were not so good. I did not do well with the spread, 10-14-1. The one tie was the UNC Minnesota spread was UNC -2, and they won by 2. So that's a push.
Yeah.
Eli was 12-12-1. Cameron and Chris were both 11-13-1. So that brings Our totals, I am 25-4 overall in money line. Eli is 26-3. So you're in first place because of your 4-0 week 0.
That was nice.
Cameron and Chris are both 24-5. Spread, Eli is still at 500, 14-14-1. Cameron and Chris are both 12-16-1, and I am 11-17-1. And Eli and I are both 0-2 in our best bets.
Dude, okay.
Which is on brand.
It is the curse of the best bets.
Yep.
We talked about it last year, and Oklahoma State last year was the perfect example of it. Let me pull up. What was it? OK State 2023.
Was it South Alabama that we did?
Well, it was like the game before they absolutely crushed someone. Well, I got to look this up real quick.
Yeah. I got it.
Oh yeah, they beat Arizona State.
Yeah, 27-15 by 2 scores.
Yeah.
And then they lose at home to South Alabama by 26. It's crazy.
That was back when I was doing $5 best bets.
What are you doing now?
I'm just doing $2.
Wow.
You should up that. I mean, best bets are like money in the bank for you.
Yeah.
It was when they beat Oklahoma. We're like, oh yeah, they're good. Like they're a legit team. And then we're like, okay, best bet for them to win against UCF by,
right.
I think it was like 14. And then they just get absolutely blown out by UCF and then come back and beat Houston. It's just like they were, ugh.
Yeah, best bet's a good way to just totally tank it.
Yeah, if you want to make money off college sports, go against Jamie and I's best bets.
That's what
so what I'll do is I'll make it progressive. Since we did week 1, so I'll just roll all the winnings for each one into the next bet.
And then you'll reset to $2 if you lose.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
And I say that looking at your guys' best bets already going.
You do that every week and you still fucking win. So
yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
It's because our best bets make sense until the game starts, and then
until they don't, because it's college football and crazy shit happens. Especially when you're talking about the spread, like you can see it from spread bet. The whole point of the spread is for it to be 50-50, like right on the money. So like Eli's pretty much right on with what the spread, how your spread pick should go.
RIP to anyone that did the Oregon minus 40.
Yikes. Big yikes.
Some people lost some money on that one.
I try to avoid any like 4-score plus spreads. Those just scare the hell out of me.
Well, you just don't know. Like they could just take out their starters if they're 3 scores going into the third.
Right. Exactly.
Or going into the fourth, I guess. All
right, let's get into these results. We're going to go through the Big Ten. We'll talk about some of the other big games. Obviously, we'll talk about Colorado as well. That's just kind of how this is going to go all season. Let's start with the Big Ten. Started Friday or Thursday. I don't even remember. Probably Thursday with Howard at Rutgers. Rutgers was a 36.5-point favorite. They won by 37.
Wow. Good beat. It's a good beat.
Rutgers did what Rutgers was supposed to do in that game.
Yeah.
No notes. North Carolina at Minnesota. We all picked Minnesota in this, and they should have won. But college kickers are a thing.
College kickers are always a thing.
And so they lost on a last-second missed field goal. Did you guys see that they missed the field goal and then they fired off the fireworks at the stadium?
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Somebody got a little trigger happy.
That's a big yikes. And he didn't miss that field goal by like inches. He missed it by a bit.
Yeah.
So rough start for Minnesota. I think they'll bounce back fine. They looked okay. This game went about as we expected, right? We thought this was going to be a close one that Minnesota eked out. And it was almost that.
Yeah.
Illinois took care of business against Eastern Illinois 45-0.
They did.
Not happy.
Yeah, they did.
I'm not happy about this. I needed them to look very pedestrian. My face is not ready for that. However,
They'll
it's
come back
Eastern
there this
Illinois.
week, don't worry.
It's Eastern Illinois. I didn't even know that was a place. So
It just means you don't know directions or maps.
this week's going to be telling. If they can somehow beat Kansas, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
That's just how
if
it's
they
gonna
beat
go.
Kansas.
And
I mean,
for any-
I have them as a loss in this. We got to look back and remember what it was on.
What the bet was?
What the line was for us. I'm just trying to remember.
I've got a clip somewhere.
Yeah.
For those who aren't following, we have a slap bet on Illinois' season. Eli had them ranked 10th in the Big Ten in our preseason preview, and I said he was fucking crazy, and we put a slap bet.
Because you had them last.
I had them last. Not loving that at the moment.
No.
Like it's Eastern
They
Illinois.
showed enough to where they're not probably going to be last.
It's Eastern Illinois, and I've never heard of Eastern Illinois, but a shutout's a shutout.
Yeah.
45-0 is 45. I mean, they scored, what was that? They scored 31.
We're just going to move on to the next game. Florida Atlantic played Michigan State. Michigan State was a 14-point favorite. They struggled mightily with this one.
Yeah.
They won the game, but 16-10. Aiden Childs had a rough day. Just didn't look very good in Sparty land.
Yeah, I mean, Florida Atlantic is like not a bad team. We talked about this, I think, in the podcast last week that we didn't release because my audio got deleted into the ether somewhere. But Florida Atlantic's not a bad team. But and Michigan State is crumbled still, and Jonathan Smith is still building, so I don't expect that. I haven't expected them to be good this year.
Yeah, I mean, Aiden Childs, I think I expected Aiden Childs to look a little better than he did. 10 of 24, 114 yards and 2 picks.
Not a good
showing. But again,
you don't want to throw 2 picks against Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm going to go back to the Illinois story here. Week 1, like, don't get too high and don't get too low on anything that happens in week 1. That's going to be a consistent theme throughout what we talk about more in depth here in a little bit.
What is it that Josh Pate says? Make observations, not conclusions.
Right. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. Good thing to say. So Illinois looking pretty strong to start their season, about to get their shit rocked by Kansas and come back down to earth. In last
I do like I don't have them picked in this game.
I know you
I have them picked against the spread out of spite.
I know
Even though the spread
I was literally watching you type this. I'm like, he's gonna fucking put them covering the spread.
I had to. I mean, I have to. I'm riding, dude. I'm riding this year. It's a 5-point spread. I'm like, I'll make them a 3-point dog. Like, why not?
Western Michigan went to Wisconsin. Again, Wisconsin, fairly pedestrian on a Friday night. Came away with a 14-point win, 28-14, had a 15-point fourth quarter. It's week 1. Again, not really.
I mean, this is another program that's rebuilding.
Yeah.
They're not probably rebuilding as hard as Michigan State is, but they are rebuilding. And so I'm not surprised to see a slow start.
Right. Ohio State. Nope. I'm going to go in order of our spreadsheet. Penn State, West Virginia. This game was wild. Had a long rain delay. Penn State looked really good in this game.
Penn State looked really good. Again, make observations, not conclusions. I might have been wrong about Drew Aller. Although like the first half, he looked very pedestrian and he missed some. Again, like he misses really.
His misses are alarming.
His misses are alarming. I still think he has growing up to do. Just observation wise. I was disappointed in West Virginia. Maybe they just got out to a slow start, but they didn't look like they had it yet. And that could turn around the second they get into, what is it, ACC play? No,
Big 12.
Big 12 play. Once they get into Big 12 play, that could easily turn back to in their favor, and they still their offense showed flashes of what it could be. They just couldn't put it together. So I imagine they'll mesh coming into the season a little more once they come into form.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Aller was 11 of 17, 216 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's pretty
monster game.
Pretty monster game.
Penn State defense is
100.
quite legit. So, maybe I'm not super surprised that West Virginia had trouble putting it in the end zone,
Yeah. I mean, I think it just shows, again, your observations. Penn State looked the part.
Yes.
On Saturday.
Really, more than most teams, Penn State looked the part.
Yep.
Last week.
Yep. They just looked polished, which is pretty surprising. I mean, that's surprising for them, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Historically, they've been a team that, they get to 10 wins, but it is a struggle to get there.
Yeah, it's a gross 10 wins.
Yeah. But they got it done. Iowa put up a 40 spot. It took a minute. Eli even texted us that the Iowa offense still looks like shit.
I said they might be worse than last year. They only put up 6 points, in the first half.
They looked terrible in the first half.
And they looked bad in the first half.
But they turned it on in the second half and ended up winning 40-0.
Yeah. That second half spurt is something else. Cade McNamara is, maybe it's just a whole thing about gelling. They just kind of found it that second half, and maybe they're off to the races. Maybe Iowa has an offense. Again, not going to make conclusion here.
Remember who they were playing. Also,
keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. They might have a not totally inept offense.
Again, one to watch this week. They play Iowa State in the Cy-Hawk,
which is such a dope name.
We will find out a lot about Iowa on Saturday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maryland whipped up on UConn 50-7. No surprise there. UConn's Garbo. No real notes.
Nope. That this is one of those early season games where it's yep, that was it.
This next one's also one of those. Purdue whooped Indiana State 49-0. The shutouts, man, are a little surprising. We got 3 of them in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
From teams that you wouldn't, I guess Iowa you expect a shutout, but Purdue and Illinois, no chance.
No, but again, competition.
Yeah, who are we talking about?
Yeah. Hudson Card looked pretty good. He looked like what was he at Tennessee before? Is that where he transferred from?
Texas,
that's right.
24 of 25, 273 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he looked because I remember when he played at Texas when Quinn Ewers went down, and he looked good. And
24 of 25 though, Jesus.
Maybe we underestimated him again. Competition.
Yeah, let's wait till they play somebody.
Yeah.
Ohio State dispatched Akron 52-6. Again, started slow. Not super surprised. You're bringing in a new quarterback into the system. Once they kind of found a rhythm, it was Ohio State being Ohio State.
Yeah.
Will Howard, 17 of 28, 228 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That's not going to blow your mind, but...
No, but again, first start with that team, it's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
In real game action. Indiana beat FIU 31-7. Again, Big Ten, you can talk about the lower level of competition, but the defenses came to play on Saturday. The most points that were given up by a Big Ten team was USC to LSU, and they gave up 20. Other than that, the highest total was Oregon and Wisconsin both giving up 14. No, sorry, Minnesota gave up 19.
Still.
20 points is the most that any team gave up.
That's pretty insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And there are some Power 5 matchups in here. Not a lot, but a couple.
It's not all total scrubs.
No. So the Big Ten's reputation for strong defense is coming out to play early on. Nebraska took care of UTEP 40-7. Dylan Raiola looked the part in this one. Nebraska is going to have a passing attack. We will get to that in our Colorado-Nebraska preview in a little bit. I don't want to get into that too much right now. We'll get into that later. Miami, Ohio at Northwestern. Northwestern beat them 13-6.
Did I call this one? Miami, Ohio.
We all no, Chris is the only one that picked Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
Northwestern won.
Do you guys see their temporary stadium?
Yes, it is.
Imagine being there in November.
Stadium. I don't care.
So dope.
Yeah, it's gonna suck when it gets cold, though.
No, you need to use that. If you have Lake Michigan right there, and you're Northwestern, who's not going to beat it, like if you're playing Ohio State and you're Northwestern, you want that fucking wind coming off of.
Well,
Lake
I get
Michigan.
it because by the time it's cold, no one's going to go to the games anyways.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
At least when it's cold,
they're all inside studying for finals, man. They doctors.
It looks sick though. Like the pictures from Saturday. What a view!
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, I don't want to be outside for 4 hours on Lakeshore Drive in fucking deep November.
Right, but I think they're going to embrace it.
Those things are going to be giant ice blocks.
It's the only chance that they have to win against
with the spray that comes off of the lake.
Dude, just imagine there's gonna be like drip icicles off of like the goalposts. It's gonna be sick.
Everything. No, they're gonna be like
off
they're gonna be sideways.
Yeah,
because of that wind.
Hell yeah, they are.
The windy city.
He's got basically quarterback's gonna throw it into the stands, just have it curve back.
The kicker's gonna be kicking it 75 degrees.
Yeah, hell yeah.
To get excited. That thing to whip around. It's gonna look like my golf shot.
Except they'll get it on target. Hey-o, pew, pew, pew.
Michigan took care of Fresno State 30-10. The line on this game was Michigan minus 20.5. Michigan won by 20. Eli and I and Chris all took Fresno State on the spread. Good for us. Cameron,
good beat for us.
Spread by a half point.
It's a good beat for us, my guy.
Good beat. UCLA, Hawaii. UCLA looked bad.
Bad.
Came away with a last-second field goal win in Hawaii. You wouldn't have known it from the way they walked off the field.
That's one of those. Now I'm going to call it an Oregon-Idaho win, where it's you won, but at what cost?
But
really?
Did you
really? Did you really?
And then Washington took care of Weber State 35-3. No surprise there. And in the surprising game of the week, although not super surprising to this podcast, except for Cameron.
I just can't pick USC.
USC took care of LSU.
Oh, dude, I was rooting for USC and it made me almost throw up.
Yeah, but it's more gross to root for Brian Kelly. He is the cringiest.
From your lips to God's ears, my man.
Other than maybe
Dabo,
he's the cringiest coach in college football.
Oh God, he's so bad.
He's terrible.
So bad. I hate to say if I want to feel angry, I'll go back and watch that video of like the 360 camera with him and the recruit. If I just want to get mad for a date.
Dude, I would have transferred if I was that kid. This isn't it.
What is that guy doing?
This is not it. So gross.
If I want to feel cool about myself.
Yeah, if I'm really feeling down, I'll just go watch a video of Brian Kelly and I'll perk right back up.
I'll tell
Did
you
see
what.
his press conference after, too?
Yeah, he threw a tantrum and hit the table.
Yeah,
he threw a fucking 16-year-old girl hissy fit.
Yeah, he did.
Probably drives a Jetta.
Because he's getting exposed.
Probably
At least he doesn't drive an Outback, you know.
I'm matured. Okay.
Listener, Cameron just traded in a Jetta for an Outback, so
Yeah,
That's
I'm
why that
established
happened.
in the certain community and circles that those cars run in,
Fair.
or they don't. You know, we don't pass judgment, but my friends do. They really do.
I'm going to judge you for the rest of your life. You chose me. Remember that.
Continually.
There's always a chance for you to never talk to me again, and you've never taken it. So that's on you, bud.
You moved away, and I could have just like
You could have just been like, yeah,
could have been a clean break.
See you
could have been a
later.
clean break. Guess what? You choose this.
A couple takeaways from this USC game. D'Anton Lynn took all of one half of football to confirm how bad of a football coach Alex Grinch is.
Yes. That defense on USC looked markedly better.
Night and day.
Like USC is actually kind of a scary team now.
Oh,
I wasn't worried about USC at all because I was like, their defense, whatever, it's going to suck. Nope, their defense is good.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like Garrett Nussmeier is like not him, I don't think, but
he didn't like make mistakes, right? Like,
yeah.
It's not like Nussmeier was out there just throwing it to
No,
USC.
USC's defense looked good, and honestly, so did LSU's.
Yeah, they did. This was a good football game.
It was a great football
Basically,
game.
from beginning to end, it was phenomenal.
Miller Moss looked great.
Miller Moss looked great. If this weekend showed me anything, it's that grabbing transfer quarterbacks is not always the way to go. Miller Moss has stuck it out at USC, and that shows because he looked ready to go.
You'll be hearing a little bit more about that from me later.
Let's get to the game that everybody wants us to talk about, or doesn't. I don't know. Some people just want to forget this game happened, but it did happen, and we have takes. Oregon, Idaho. This game did not go the way that any Duck fan would have wanted or imagined.
I think anyone outside of Idaho did not expect this game to go this way.
Right. I think the entire country was shocked to watch what happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
On the surface, this was unbelievably ugly. Right? Oregon was a 43.5 point favorite. They won by 10. There was 1 point in the fourth quarter that Idaho had this down to a 3-point game. This was looking at one point like it was going to be the biggest upset in college football history. Luckily, it didn't play out that way. There are things to take from this game as an Oregon fan that I think are extremely important. First is Dylan Gabriel.
Wait, first, I just want to do just a gauge.
Yeah.
Panic meter, 1 to 10, 1 being not panicked at all, 10 being, batten down the hatches. It's going to be a rough season, or it's going to be a horrible season. Where are you at right now?
If you asked me that Saturday night, it would have probably been a 6. Like, I was pretty much like, there's no way we're beating Ohio State. There's no way we're beating Michigan. Like, we're going to struggle to beat good teams on the road at all. When I went back, now that I've had time to calm myself and look at some film and actually digest what happened and understand who our head coach is, I would say right now, as I sit here today, I'm at a 3 probably.
Yeah.
I'd say there's red flags. There's stuff that has to be fixed quickly, but I'm not in full-blown panic mode.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm about the same, about a 3. It's like, it's like it was like last year when we were talking about Colorado early season. I was like, look, I'm not going to say that they're a bad team. but like the red flags are there, and the red flags are there. There are some there are some like caution flags to the wind right now in my head, but we'll talk about why I'm not panicking here in a second. Cameron, where are you at?
I've had this uneasiness with how people have talked about Oregon for the past 6 weeks. And Jamie and I have talked about it pretty frequently. And it's usually whenever something comes out and someone ranks Oregon really high. And, the trauma of being high on an Oregon team just kind of pokes its head out. I still kind of feel that way. And I think it's just because I'm cautious of getting super high on a team, especially a team like this where, you root with your heart and we've got so much invested in it. I've been watching them forever. I'm not ready to, throw them out with the bathwater, but yeah, I think there's some things to clean up. Having said that, I've heard some good things, heard the right things from Dan Lanning right after the game, that I think that they can handle it. I think that there's some way to bounce back and to learn from this, because this is a win that was not really a win.
Mm-hmm. So where are you at on the scale?
Probably about a 4.
All right.
Like that's kind of where I've hovered. And I mean, they won and the win's a win, but so it didn't go any higher, but it didn't drop me down to a 1 like I was really hoping the first week would.
Yeah, right.
If we'd won by 45, 50 points, I'm like, all right, cool, everything's Gucci, baby. But no.
All right, Jamie, continue. Sorry, I just wanted to get a feel.
No, it's all good. Like if you look at the stats of this game, right? Like, and I hate the box score, right? Because the box score lies all the time. But it usually doesn't lie in this direction, right? It usually lies in the other direction. Dylan Gabriel is 41 of 49 for 380 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is a fucking phenomenal stat line if you just look at it.
Yeah.
The way it looked, and we talked about this on Saturday, and I know Bo Nix checked down a lot, right? Like I know Oregon's offense and Dan Lanning's philosophy for the Oregon offense is very much take what the defense gives you. That is what the whole thing is built off of. It felt more than that on Saturday. It felt like, especially in the second half, that Dylan Gabriel wasn't even looking down the field. He was looking for the checkdowns.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then I remembered this yesterday, I think, or the day before, on that, I think it was the second drive or the third drive of the game. It was a third down play to the edge, and Dylan Gabriel let go of the ball, and his hand fucking ran right into a defender's helmet. Yep. Hard. And he was going off field, shaking it. They were checking it out for a while on the bench. I don't know if any of you have tried to throw a football with even a jammed finger. It fucking sucks. So I think after watching this and then going back and watching the game back again, which I did, I don't know why, I'm just glutton for punishment, I guess. But I fully think they told him to check the ball down in the second half.
So I agree with you on some level here. One, like that injury, I don't think can be really understated, right? Because like he was pushing the ball in the first half, right? There were he was missing, but like first game with a team, you kind of expect a couple misses, right? Like new receivers, new system, you kind of expect a couple misses that could have been big, right? But he was pushing the ball down the field, and I think 2 things happened. One, he hurt his hand. The severity of that we won't know until next week. The 2, the run game was completely shut down. In Idaho's defense, they played perfectly on the defensive front. And to be honest, here, this is getting a little ahead of ourselves. That Idaho defense is probably better than the defense we'll see this week. But they played perfectly. They were unbelievably disciplined for an FCS team. I have never seen that kind of discipline. Like obviously there were times when you could see athletically they were outmatched, but they were disciplined and they were fast and they all went to the ball at once. right? Like they played nearly a perfect game. So with the run game being shut down, I think instead of like, yeah, those were check down stuffs, but the reason why Dylan Gabriel threw the ball so much and it was so much check down, they were using the short pass as the run game, right? They were using the screens as the run game because they couldn't get anything going between the tackles at all because Idaho's defenders were just right there all the time in their perfect gap assignment every fucking time. So that's I like again, like I'm not panicked, right? Like let's give credit where credit due. Idaho's a good team, right? They're a good team. Oregon should have still beat them by a lot, but there's a lot of things, right? And I think one thing that kind of is worrisome to me, but is less worrisome the longer we get throughout the season, is I think people underestimate how hard it is to change positions on the offensive line. So we got, Poncho is our starting center, right? Like Iapani or whatever, right? I can never pronounce his last name. He's the starting center. It is not Parkey, or walk on, right? So
yeah.
Basically the entire right side of the offensive line was playing out of position because Matthew Bedford's out. I think that is an underestimated portion of this because the difference, especially between center and guard, is insane.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with what Alik Terry did here, like in changing center and moving our starting center out to right guard. I would have moved our backup center to starting right guard, Parker to starting right guard, because the center position is so important on an offensive line that I find it weird that he did it this way. I think once either they gel right in their new positions, because to me, what I saw to this Oregon team that was frustrating was they weren't balling. They weren't playing the game. They were thinking about the game, especially on the offensive line. You could see them overthinking every single snap. And again, to Idaho's credit, they were doing a great job with stunts. They were so disciplined. There's also that frustrating aspect, but you could tell that they were out of sync and it got into their heads. And with Matthew Bedford back, putting people back into their positions that they've been playing, I think that is one of those things that that problem kind of starts to solve itself. And if there's anybody who can get more out of an offensive line than she should, it's Alik Terry, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also I want to touch kind of on what Cameron was saying earlier, like how he's been a little bit like uneasy with this team, with at least how people are talking about this team. And I have too. I've had something like eating away at the back of my head that either last year was the year, and I haven't really said this much, but either last year was the year or 2 or 3 years from now is the year, right? Because last year with Bo Nix, like that felt like the year, right? That's the year they should have won it all, and they just couldn't get past Washington. And then this year, like I like Dylan Gabriel, and I think he's going to be fine and good in this offense. Like, he's a great player. But it just doesn't. I don't know. It just, like, for me, there's been something in my head that's like, I feel like Dante Moore's second year is the next year for us, right? A guy who's been developed for 3 or 4 years under Dan Lanning at this point, at that point or whatever. So, and then again, getting more depth in positions of need, like offensive line, right? So I've been like kind of in the zone of like, maybe this isn't the year, like, again, and maybe it's also my trauma as an Oregon Duck fan of just being like, every time we're ranked highly, something disappointing happens. But it's been like itching away at me for a while. And like after this Idaho game, I was like, okay, like maybe it's not, like, again, don't jump to conclusions, make observations, but like maybe this isn't the year. And maybe the Ducks were absolutely overhyped this year. But watch out in the future. Right.
I would say the only way this isn't the year, right? I would say the only way Oregon's not in contention this year is specifically the O-line play.
Yeah, I
If
would
the
agree with that.
O-line play does not improve, it's not the year. Like, they
Yeah.
have to play better, period.
Yeah.
This defense was lights out.
Oh, this
except
defense
for
is nasty.
except for 2 trick plays that they got scored on.
Oh yeah, you saw the Jeff Shorts thread that was like 75% of the yards were on trick plays and screens.
Yep.
Like,
And
I'm not
that
worried about the
takes it
defense at
right.
all.
That I mean, you're over pursuing. If you're going to let screens beat you on a consistent basis, it means you're over pursuing,
Yeah.
right? Which is not super surprising in week 1. It's disappointing because Dan Lanning pointed out that they knew that was coming and they didn't execute the way that they were supposed to. So they didn't execute the game plan great, especially at the linebacker position. But aside from that, the defense was fucking phenomenal, the whole game. Corners need to learn to turn their fucking head around. I don't know why this happens all the fucking time anymore. Turn your head around. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Yeah.
And there was another one that could have been called that wasn't. But the defense is nasty. If the offensive line can gel and play good football, there is no reason that this team can't be phenomenal. I saw enough out of Dylan Gabriel. He'll figure the deep ball out. We've seen him throw that deep ball at Oklahoma. He can do it. I'm not worried about this team, but Saturday is going to show us a lot against Boise State.
It's funny because people are keep kind of talking about this game and like, can Oregon get it going this week? And again, I genuinely, like, this is no BS, think that Idaho defense is probably better than Boise State,
especially up front. I mean, that defensive front was crazy. Boise
I mean,
State's
we gotta
defense
think.
is
I think
nothing
that,
special.
like, we've been talking about this for the last 4 years now, that the talent gap between the top and bottom is closing. Does that mean Oregon should have been in a dogfight with an FCS team? No, but like, FCS teams, especially on the top level of FCS teams, which Idaho is, and they are going to make a run this year at the title, like, they're good teams. Like, they're not scrubs anymore. It's not like you're not playing Eastern Indiana State Tech, anymore. Like, that's not that kind of team, right? But then they've got athletes at these levels now, and they've got guys and they've got schemes that are better now. And but I genuinely think that the Boise State defense might be worse than and that's not a knock on Boise State's defense. True, like, I think Idaho's defense was that good. Again, I've never seen as disciplined of play from an FCS school ever. Maybe like back in the days when Appalachian State was, giant killers, or, maybe a couple North Dakota State teams, but like that was insane to watch. Like, I was like, these guys are
crazy.
Legit good players.
Yep.
And the one place where Boise State truly shines, which is Ashton GT, Oregon is fine, right? Like, he's gonna get his. Ashton GT, he is a force. He's going to get his. But like, Oregon's pretty good against the run, and being pretty good against the run, and like also being pretty good, like, that's a good defense.
Yeah.
And they're if I'm Oregon, I'm all in on the run. Make them go over the top. Make them beat these corners who are older and experienced, right? Make them throw over Jabbar Muhammad all day. Right? Like,
yeah, I dare you.
So
Yeah,
I'm
gonna grab a couple of those.
Yeah, I like, obviously this team is still better than that Idaho team overall, but I think the matchup is actually maybe better for Oregon.
More favorable. Yeah, I think that's probably true. And the hard thing with FCS, right? Like, there's more tape now than ever again with those FCS schools, but there's not a lot.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to talk about this with the Colorado game, but like, you don't really know what you're doing. And the FCS schools run all kinds of plays and have to do all kinds of gadget type stuff that you can't really replicate with a scout team.
Yeah.
Right. So there's going to be moments where you're like, holy shit, how'd that happen? And especially against good FCS teams, they're just good at executing those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, we've talked like this was their Super Bowl, right? I mean, their coach even said it after the game, like they don't give out rings for playing Oregon to 10, but I'm proud of you guys for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like this was their Super Bowl. And like if you go out and you play with that mindset over Oregon, who was out there like, hell, we're just gonna roll past these guys. Pretty clearly, they were not mentally there for that game,
Nope.
right? Largely.
They were this was a trap game, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But they were very clearly looking past Boise State.
Or yeah, exactly. And so I like you said, offensive line really does need work, and they need. And again, I trust Coach Terry so much. What he did 2 years ago was insane with that offensive line. I believe he can do it again. I don't know if you saw, but he was wearing a shirt at practice all week that said 2.9 yards against Idaho, 2.9 yards per carry against Idaho. He's mad.
He's mad. And
that is an offensive line stat. That is an offensive line stat, is what that is. Yep. Right. That is not on Jordan James. That is not on Noah Whittington. They had nowhere to go, and that's on the line.
I mean,
especially
the
right side.
The fourth down play, you had linemen like tripping over each other, and like
and that's what I mean. Like when I was thinking, like they're talking about them, they're overthinking it and they're playing out of position, right? Like because if you watch them, they're uncomfortable in where they're doing, right? Like Poncho was uncomfortable in those pulls because he doesn't pull; he's a center,
right.
He's been playing center. I think he played guard when he first came to Oregon, but he's been playing center pretty consistently since he got here.
Right.
Like he is a center, and you could see that he was uncomfortable in those pulls and was hesitant, and it was making things happen. Right. So like, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. When I talk about like switching positions on an offensive line on the surface, seems like, it's like the same thing. You're just blocking. Right.
Right.
No, I mean, I literally just watched a video with Richie Incognito talking about him. He was like talking about Pro Bowl and how he had to play the right side of the line on Pro Bowl and how he sucks on the right side of the line. This is a Hall of Famer left guard, and he can't play right guard. Right. It's almost the same position, but it's like so different.
It's like throwing with your left hand.
It's throwing with your left hand. It's I was kind of equating like the difference between playing center and playing right guard is like the difference between playing running back and wide receiver. Yeah, like the skills are largely interchangeable, but like it's an entirely different position that has its own nuances that you need to know. So it's there's some
do it at a high level.
There's to do it at a high level, you have to be specialized in that. And so it's gonna take a couple weeks probably for them to get comfortable, right?
Well, hopefully they're more comfortable.
Yeah.
Going in next week. All right. Again, I don't want to, we can dive into numbers and stuff. There's really no point. Like it was an ugly game. And we said it.
I mean, there's like one bright spot I had in the whole time was like, there were times like the majority of the time Oregon looked pretty good. It's just their detrimental plays were so bad. Right. Obviously the run didn't look good, but like Dylan Gabriel largely looked good. Tez Johnson looked great. But like, they were moving the ball pretty easily a lot. And then they would have 3 plays that were absolute crap. Just totally killed the drive. And it was just like stuff like that where it was like, it was so frustrating because like, you guys were just doing this perfectly. What happened? Right. So.
I mean, and if you look at it, like pretty much every statistical category, Oregon dominated this game. Like it's
dominated.
And it, like if you took the scoreboard out of it, Oregon got 21 more first downs. Third down efficiency is a problem. They had 270 more total yards. 212 more passing yards.
But even the third down efficiency, the third down efficiency, the percentage was still markedly better than Idaho's.
Oh yeah, I mean if you're comparing them, just Oregon like 7 of 16 is not great. They held Idaho to 49 yards on the ground. 49. Do you know how hard that is to do? Like that's crazy. And of their 168 passing yards, I would venture to guess that 140 of them were on screens. And the other ones were that double reverse pass touchdown. Right?
Double reverse flea flicker pass.
Again, like
touchdown.
statistically, if you want to take something out of this, other than yards per rush on offense, this was a dominant football game.
Yeah.
Dominant.
Well, and even then, like Jordan James, like it was the other guys, right? Like Jordan James still got his. He was 6.3 yards a carry.
I'm very high on Jordan James.
He's very good.
Very high.
But yeah, the offensive line definitely needs work.
Well, and the fact that sacks count as yards as a carry,
I've always thought that's weird.
It's the dumbest thing. That needs to be its own category. That should not count against your yards.
I mean, that completely changed Colorado's stat lines last year.
100%. Now,
Shedeur
they
was
still
like
couldn't run the
80.
fucking football.
Yeah,
they still couldn't run the ball, but
still can.
That should not be a stat that goes against yards per carry.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Am I thrilled? Absolutely not, right? Like overall grade, we all said they get a D, right? Like this shouldn't be a thing for a team that is expecting to compete for a national championship. This should not happen. However, it happens more frequently than people know. Georgia struggled with Kent State last year or the year before.
Yeah. Alabama struggled 2 years ago against
USF last year. They
Yeah.
struggled.
Only 2 years ago, they struggled against someone really bad too.
Right. It happens, right? Like shit happens. Football is football. Win's a win. Let's take it, learn from it, and move on.
Yeah.
The quote from Dan Lanning, Cameron, I don't know if you have the clip. Let's go ahead and roll that video from Dan Lanning. This is immediately post-game in the locker room.
I'm disappointed in the process tonight. Not the result, the process. Process wasn't sharp enough. I'm not going to let you down by saying great win. That's not the way I feel. Hey, they played a good game. Credit to them. Do not discredit anything that they did. But I want to own our standard. Our standard doesn't change regardless of who we play. And who we playing? We're playing us. We're playing Oregon. So when you play Oregon next week, what's your measure? What you do is you dust yourself off and say, here's where I can get better. Here's where I can make my team better. Every one of you should be really proud to wear that green. I promise you I'm proud to coach you. A great team can learn from wins. Don't make adversity the reason you learn. Can you learn from tonight?
Don't make adversity the reason you learn. That is a fucking line.
Dude. Dan Lanning's a dude, man.
I mean, I don't know how you listen to that as a prospective player and be like, yeah, I want to play for that motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that is like, and you contrast that with Brian Kelly's post-game interview, for example, where he's just throwing a hissy fit talking about how pissed at his team he is. We can gush over Dan Lanning all day, right? And we do on this show a lot because we're obviously very high on him. But that right there, that clip right there, and us seeing that and fans being able to see that is the exact reason that we should not be that panicked. And if there's anything that I've learned in Dan Lanning's short, admittedly, tenure at Oregon, is after they do something like this, where there are glaring holes, they don't fucking happen again the next week.
Like all you have to do is like bring up like, when the last time Oregon was like totally written off, when they got absolutely curb stomped by Georgia.
Yep.
And guess what happened that season? Right. Rose Bowl. Right. Like bounce back is the thing, right? Like they got trounced by Georgia. Honestly, like that felt worse than this did, right? Like,
100%. That was helpless. I was like, we can't play football.
Yeah, like they don't deserve to be on this field. But like, yeah, like they bounce back, and I'd rather have a bounce back on a dub than a loss like that.
I mean, it was a Holiday Bowl. It wasn't a Rose Bowl, but still, they won 10 games that season.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, there was a point until they played Washington at home and Bo Nix hurt his ankle and whatever. We talk about that. They had they lost to Washington by 3. They lost to Oregon State by 4. That was objectively probably the second worst loss in Dan Lanning's tenure. But besides those 2 games, they were talked about of being back in playoff contention at the end of the season. Yeah. Like he doesn't let that shit just tank, right? And and coaches like Brian Kelly, like I'm interested to see what happens to LSU because I wouldn't be surprised if that team just can't rebound from
They
a
fall
loss
off the
like USC
planet.
just because
Yeah.
I think Brian Kelly's a shit coach. And I think Dan Lanning's a fucking A+ stellar head coach.
Yeah.
And I think this team's going to be fucking mad on Saturday. Like if
I
I was
hope so.
Boise State, that is probably the last thing that they fucking wanted to happen.
Yeah, they probably wanted a full coast out blowout.
Now, I think in the locker room, they're probably licking their chops, right? They're probably watching that and being like, oh, we got these guys. I promise you, you don't.
No, I actually feel good about the game this week.
I would
I feel
feel better
less
about
good
it
about
if
it.
I didn't have question marks about the O-line. But,
Yeah.
again, Dan Lanning doesn't
So
let
I
that
did see
shit repeat itself.
Bedford is taking reps. Again, he wasn't in the starting lineup so far. But that's good he's taking reps. He's back. So if they can get that, because if Poncho can start at center and Bedford can start, we're fine.
We're fine.
We're fine.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get to previews here in a minute. I don't want to stick too long on this because we still have to do our week 2 previews. And we still have to talk about some other games. Colorado hosted North Dakota on a Thursday night in Boulder. First thing I want to talk about, the new drip that Colorado has is fucking unbelievable.
So good. Dude, they walked out of that tunnel. I was like, oh my God, those are so sick.
And here's what I want to compliment so much, and this, most people probably don't know this, but it is so on brand for CU because the way they have those flat irons on the shoulders like that is exactly how the basketball court looks. So he stuck. Not only did he fucking hit a home run with the uniforms, but it is within the CU framing, which is insane and not something that I thought Dion would do at all.
Yeah, no, they look good. Those uniforms look good.
You put a black face mask. I still don't know how I feel about the white face mask.
I thought it looked good, man, because the accent with the shoulders.
That's the only reason it looked okay. So the first thing
a black
I saw,
face mask would be dope.
Black face mask or a gold face mask. But the first picture I saw of the new uniforms was just the helmet on Twitter on Thursday. I was like, that's fucking disgusting. Please don't do this.
Oh,
and then I saw it with the whole thing. I was like, all right, that works.
Yeah.
They
looked fantastic.
Looked phenomenal. This game went about like we thought it would, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thought this would be a dogfight. Any person who knows college football thought that this would be a dogfight. Couple notes from a Colorado fan. The things that I was impressed with, the Colorado run defense looked night and day better than last year. They were actually stopping the run. It was pretty, and the only runs that they got were off schedule QB scramble type runs. So that was great to see from a CU standpoint. The linebacker play and passes over the middle continue to be a problem. Now, that's something I think they can fix. They did lose Cameron Silman Craig after 10 snaps in that game. He had to leave. He's starting safety. He is a big factor in that, I think. And I think that played more of a factor in the pass defense than a lot of people are giving credit to. So overall concern level for the Colorado defense is relatively low. Again, we're talking about a top tier, again, historically, especially the last decade, top tier FCS program coming in that does stuff that most FBS programs don't do. They run all kinds of weird gadget plays. They have 2 quarterbacks that come in and out. They did stuff, and Dion talked about it in his post game. They did stuff that they just could, they tried to figure out how to replicate in scout team, and they just couldn't. So there's stuff that you just can't prepare for. And when you're turning over the roster like Colorado did again this last year, that's just hard to deal with in the first game. So concern level for the defense is meh. I wish we could have played like Delaware State, like we talked about in week 0. Just a total shit football team so they could figure out how to play. But also getting tested can do a lot, and having film to work on can do a lot. So pretty pleased with that. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are fucking incredible. That's my Travis Hunter. I've never seen the third touchdown that he had in the corner of the end zone. I've never seen anything like that.
That was insane.
Dude was getting fucking clotheslined, and he caught the ball behind the defender. I just
Travis Hunter is the best player in college football.
Yeah, hands down.
He may not win a Heisman or anything, but he is the best all around. He is the best athlete in college football.
He's crazy.
Yeah, he's insane.
And people can bitch and moan about him pushing off and whatever.
I mean, he did, but like that game was
very
loose. That game was very loosely called, which I'm okay with.
The whole game,
the whole entire game was very loosely called.
Yeah.
Which I thought the refs were very loose, but very consistent in how
fair.
loose they were. I thought they were fair. I thought they did a decent job.
They did.
So my take is a lot like yours. Defense, their run defense did look a lot better. I think there are some discipline issues that can be fixed, right? Like obviously like QB scramble runs and stuff. Sometimes they're going to get you. You got them a lot. Like at some point you got to, as a defensive lineman, you got to get your head up and try to stop there's adjustments that they didn't make that they should have made. Pass defense has some concerns. I kind of said in the preview, like they're going to be better, but like really how much better? I think the defensive line has made the biggest step. The secondary is kind of it seems like about where they were last year. Like they're fine. Travis Hunter's him, but like outside of Travis Hunter, it's like they're just kind of fine, right? They're not gonna blow your doors off, but like they're fine. Like they're not bad, but they're not good. Like they're not gonna be in the top half of the Big 12, but they're also probably not gonna be in the bottom half of the Big 12. I think they're gonna be squarely average defense overall.
Yeah,
which is an improvement from last year.
I'm gonna push back a little on the secondary. The secondary almost didn't get tested on Thursday, like at all. They attacked the linebackers like it was going fucking out of style. The linebacker play is a concern, period.
Linebackers are bad.
And I blame even the scrambles more on the linebacker play than I do the line. Now the line has to do better also, but the DBs themselves actually played decent and shut down most of the game, but the linebacker play is a problem.
Yeah. Offensive side of the ball, of course, Shedeur and Travis are insane. They're really good players. Offensive line is improved. I'm interested to see how they are against Nebraska with like a pretty legit pass rush. Because like while the offensive line prevented more sacks, the pressure rate was largely the same as last year, which is concerning. And like again, North Dakota State isn't a slouch, so we're not going to like dog them for being an FCS team, like getting this same kind of pressure rate. But Nebraska has a markedly better pass rush, right? So I will be interested to see, right? Make observations, not conclusions. I will be interested to see how they perform against like a pretty legit pass rush. One thing that was like disappointing for me to see was like how undisciplined North Dakota State's defense was. And like I said, Shedeur and Travis, they're going to make their plays. They're going to do their thing. But like a couple, like I like Travis Hunter's first touchdown was just like him being the best athlete on the planet, right?
I'm just better than you.
Yeah, but like Jimmy Horn's like big gains, both of those were just like on total broken coverages that like aren't going to be there against like, higher tier opponents. Just because I was watching North Dakota State's players going like, where are you even going? Right? Like, what are you reading? Where are you even going? And which is very unlike North Dakota State in a lot of ways. Like I've my whole family's from North Dakota. So I like to watch the old Bison. But like, it was just kind of like, what are you guys doing? Like, why? But like, obviously it's good for Colorado and like Jimmy Horn looked great. but like a lot of that was like just super broken coverage. So I'm going to be interested to see again how, like, obviously, again, Travis Hunter and Shedeur, they're going to get theirs. They're going to do their thing. But like against this Nebraska team, I don't think you're going to be able to be as one dimensional. Right, they're not gonna be as broken coverage like these. The Jimmy Horn is not gonna be able to sit over the middle with. I've never seen a guy that open 30 yards over the middle of the field
No.
in my life. I was just like, where is anyone on this field? Like, this is the middle of the field. What happened? And he just ran straight there. It wasn't like he didn't run a post. He just ran to that part of the field. It was unreal. But like those plays aren't gonna happen. They will at times, but like. Largely, that's just something you cannot rely on against a team like Nebraska, especially with the pass rush they're going to have. So it's like I'm interested to see this week is the true like litmus test, I think, for Colorado. Especially because Nebraska looked pretty good, and like I think Colorado has some concerns that they need to address, and they're better. I think they're better for sure. How much better, again, still remains to be seen. They still have a lot of concerns, but I could tell you right now, Travis and Shedeur are not those concerns at all.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a concern at quarterback, you're gonna win games.
Yeah, here's the thing for me, right? Like, the Nebraska game's falling at the wrong time. Yes, Nebraska probably has the best defense that Colorado is going to see, save for Utah in November.
Yeah. Agreed.
The good thing about the Big 12 is what have we said about the Big 12 for the last 2 decades?
They don't play defense.
They don't play defense, right?
Yeah.
So that's a perk, right? Like, honestly, the best defenses that they're going to face in the Big 12 are Arizona and Utah, which are Pac-12 schools.
Yeah.
So, like, the move is great. Having to face Nebraska in week 2 in Lincoln is not great.
No.
Like, I would prefer this to even be week 3. But, here we are. Overall, like you said, Shedeur looked even better than he did last year, right? Like when he held on to the ball this time, it was for the right reasons. There was nothing available. He escaped, but kept his eyes downfield and made the throw.
Yeah,
right?
The lack of a run game is really what's concerning me.
Yeah, it's concerning. And again, we're talking like the O-line. The individual play was better. Right. There weren't guys just like whiffing on blocks.
True.
Right.
True.
Like last year, like they just fucking didn't know how to play football.
So bad.
They were so bad. There was none of like, it looked different from the stands, and it looked different when again I went back and watched the game. It just it did. Was it great? No. It reminded me a lot of the Oregon O-line, honestly. Like that's what it looked like. But the talent difference is apparent. And they, like, I even saw a clip from Deion Jr. Where he was talking to one of the new O-linemen. He's like, yeah, it took me about a half to like get into the swing of things again and like really feel comfortable at my spot with my guys. But once I got into the groove, I started to feel it. So I'm ready to get rolling, right? And that's the story for O-line. You got to gel, and for this team, it's just going to be a matter of how quickly they can. Happy with a win, not happy with the clock management at the end of the game. Cameron knows how unhappy I was with it. Turns out that was Shedeur's call, not the coach's call, so I'm going to give them a pass. It's a dumb call, but I'm not surprised for somebody who's hoping to win a Heisman that he didn't want
or be drafted at the next level, because that's going to that straight up put your team at risk of losing.
No, for sure. And it's a learning moment for him, and he admitted it, right? Like he's admitted it. The fact that he stood up there in the post game and said, yeah, that was my bad. Like that, like he knows. And I don't think he'll make that mistake again.
Well, the problem is like one of the reasonings too, like that he gave, that is like, it's not bad, I guess, but like, one of the big knocks on Colorado is they're about flash and not substance, right? And like the fact that he like put the game on the line and put like this win in contention, because North Dakota State almost won that game. Like, let's not get it like or like they almost won that game because of that play.
Yep.
Right. And he did it because he wanted what's his face, the new receiver, the young freshman kid,
Levante.
to have a big moment on TV. And it's like, well, that's
a
why
problem.
people don't like you. That's why people are against Colorado's because they think you're about the flash and not the substance. And that is an illustration of that. Now, I don't think that's indicative of a whole like culture problem there. I think Shedeur was feeling it and just trying to have fun, but like it gives people something to point to, right? And that's just bad. It's a bad look, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, again, I think he owned it, right? Like, I like that better than Dion taking the ball in overtime, which he still has not admitted is a mistake. And he's doubled down on. So, like, I think it's a learning moment for Shedeur. I don't know that he's had the free, like, total free reign to call whatever play he wants until this year. And so, learning moment, again, observation, not conclusion. Hopefully he can learn from that. It seems like he has from every interview that I've seen him have about it after.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's it's actually indicative of anything, but it's like one of those things where like people are just going.
You ask Cameron how I was after the game. I was way less than thrilled. Talk about firing people already. So yeah, I did not mince words with my feelings about that. Okay, a couple other games of note, real quick. Georgia dispatched Clemson. Holy shit! Georgia did Georgia things. Again, I don't think this is a nail in the coffin for Clemson. I think Georgia's just Georgia.
Georgia's Georgia. Well,
felonies
like I
and
said,
all. That's bad. They're not felons, but they.
I mean, I said at the beginning, or I said last week, which didn't air, that this was reminiscent of the Oregon game a couple of years ago. Like it doesn't mean that Clemson's a bad team. Georgia's just going to come out and whoop them.
Yep, and they did. Texas, 52-0 on the old Rammies.
Ooh, that's a beat. Texas. Talk about looking the part. We talked about Penn State looking the part. Texas looked the part more than anyone else.
Yeah, and I think people are like, yeah, well, it's Colorado State. Like, Colorado State's not a slouch.
They're not a bad team.
No.
Like, they are not a bad team. Like, they're not a great team, but they are not a bad team by any stretch.
And they looked bad.
Them to 0 points is
That's crazy.
insane.
That's crazy. Miami, again, talk about looking the part. Like if you're pointing at 3 teams, there's probably 4 teams that looked the part this week. Notre Dame, Miami, Penn State, and Texas.
Yeah.
But Miami,
I'm still holding my breath on Miami.
Miami came out and did their thing. We said it last week. This feels like a Mario Cristobal going to come out with your hair on fire, get the job done. And then down the road, they're going to lose to fucking Syracuse or something.
They're going to lose. They're going to drop some just dud on the field.
Yep. But for this game,
Cam
they look
Ward
good.
was great. And like also like I have concerns about Cam Ward's consistency. Damian Martinez is a monster, but
I want to give Cam Ward his flowers because after the game, they were in the Swamp. Which is notoriously a top 10 stadium, right? People are saying it's one of the most intimidating environments out there. Cam Ward came out and basically said, real football is played in the Pac-12, you fucking idiots.
Yeah, it was like I wasn't that intimidated. I played at Oregon. I played at Washington. I played at what was the other one he mentioned?
I don't even remember.
He mentioned 3 stadiums in the Pac-12 that he was like, they're all louder than the Swamp.
And he was just so matter of fact about it.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys don't even know.
Yeah. No, yeah. Give him his flowers.
Did you guys
I like Cam Ward a lot, but
did you guys see the Miami players pulling the Florida recruits at the end? So at the end, the Miami players were like kind of headed towards their tunnel, and there was a whole row of Florida recruits, and they dapped a few of them up. They're saying, you need to come here. We lost Eli. And like, saying, you shouldn't go there. You got to come to the U, come play real football. Miami owns Florida and like owns the state. And yeah. And there were like some of like the recruiting, babysitters that were like, nah, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here.
That's
and,
awesome.
Yeah. The Miami players like, nah, you guys got to take off that shirt. Come play at Miami.
That's so good.
That's really good.
That is so good.
So everybody's hitting the recruiting trail these days.
So yeah, Miami looked the part. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Notre Dame went in and took care of business. They looked like a real football team.
Yeah, they did. Marcus Freeman has got them playing good ball.
And if you look at their schedule, right, like there's a couple games, like USC looks probably scarier than they thought it would. Florida State looks less scary than they thought it would. Like, I'd say if we're sitting here today, Notre Dame's probably the clearest lock for a college football playoff that we have.
Totally agree.
After that,
because even if they lose that USC game,
they're in.
No matter, they're in.
Boston College at Florida State. Ooh, buddy, Florida's. So first of all, the fact that Boston College gets to claim a top 10 win is bullshit.
Yeah, right.
But they
Florida
do.
State should not have been in the top 10.
Just because the NCAA can't figure their shit out and get new rankings between week 0 and week 1. Come on now. But it was technically a top 10 road win.
Good for Boston College.
Good for Boston College. I tell you what, man. I am totally blanking his name right now. How am I forgetting his name?
Mike Norvell.
Nope. Boston College coach.
I have no idea. No idea off the top of my head what his name is.
You're going to... Bill O'Brien. Fucking heck.
Oh, yeah.
Bill O'Brien is... the fact that it's taken him this long to become a head coach in college again is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, I know that he wasn't good when he went to the Texans in the NFL, but lots of college coaches aren't good in the NFL.
Saban stuck in the NFL.
Nick Saban is the prime example of that, right?
Urban Meyer.
Right.
Countless.
Ton of them.
Chip
Ton
Kelly.
of examples. Bill O'Brien, let's not forget, was the one who took a Penn State program who almost got the death penalty and brought them back from the dead quicker than anybody thought was even humanly possible.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic coach. Fan-fucking-tastic. We said it in the offseason. This was a slam dunk for Boston College. Absolute banger of a hire. Pays off week 1. Road victory at Florida State. Florida State, because they could technically still win the ACC, is not eliminated from the playoff, but they're damn near eliminated from the playoff before we even are in week 2.
That's insane, dude. They don't look good at all.
They look
it's not like
terrible.
It's not like Boston College just came out and played like their ears off and like were able to like squeak out a win against Florida State. Like Florida State looked bad. DJU looked awful.
Lost. He can't complete easy throws. I don't know what's going. Like DJ's not that bad, right? Like we saw him. He's not good, right? Like DJ's not great. Let's get that all on the table. He led Clemson to a 10-win team and almost made the playoffs, right? Like this is the same guy. He hasn't changed. Just Florida State's that bad.
Florida State's that bad. That was unbelievable to watch.
You put that Florida State team against Oregon in week 1 in Autzen, Oregon probably won by 50.
You ain't
honestly
wrong.
That's how I feel.
Oregon probably has 2 pick sixes in that game.
Like Florida State probably loses to Idaho in that.
I honestly, after that Oregon game, watching that team, I would pick that straight up.
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy. I'd pick it.
Colorado would have beat Florida State.
DJU like would be absolutely lost in like that disciplined of a defense.
Oh, you just wouldn't have any time. That O-line was Swiss cheese.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, they're bad. So yeah, Florida State 0-2. Love that for them. down hard. On to our best bets. They were bad. I had CU -10. Was really hoping that really bad decision by Shador paid off because I would have won my best bet. Or he didn't, throw the most random interception off a dude's foot in the end zone.
Crazy.
So, I should have probably won that bet, but I'll take the L. It was an L. Eli had UCLA -14. That's yikes.
Yeah, it was yikes. I expected UCLA to at least make a decent showing.
They did not.
They did not. So
They did not. UCLA is going to be bad.
turns out.
That's how that's going to go.
Out.
All right, let's get on to week 2. We're going to do what we did last week. We're going to go through the Big Ten games, and we'll go through some of the other games, including the Colorado-Nebraska games in the Big Ten this week. So, Western Illinois at Indiana. Indiana is a 48.5-point favorite. I've got Indiana winning this. I do not have them covering that spread because 48.5 points is a lot.
Exact same reason, Indiana winning, but that's an insane spread.
7 touchdowns.
That's insane. I don't think that I might change my best bet to that actually, but that's insane. At that point, if you're 48, people aren't in. You're on third stringers, right?
Yeah, and you get 3 free games with all your freshmen before you have to redshirt them. Get everybody on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Cameron?
Same.
Duke at Northwestern. We've got some good games this week. All right, we're into some good FBS versus FBS Power 5 type matchups. Northwestern again, 1-score favorite. This time they are a 2.5-point favorite against Duke. I'm taking Duke in this.
Okay, I'm taking Northwestern all the way.
Yep, I'm taking Northwestern all the way for the vibes.
For the vibes.
For the vibes. Texas at Michigan in the game of the week in the big house. Texas is a 7.5-point favorite. We talked about them looking the part. We knew Michigan was going to struggle more than everybody thought they would against Fresno State, and they did. Everything happening around Michigan, I just feel like, and this Texas team just looks different. So I'm taking Texas to win and cover.
I'm also taking Texas to win and cover. Same reasons you said. Texas looks the part. Michigan struggled. Doesn't look great. Doesn't really look like they have their identity yet. So,
yeah, I got Texas by at least 14.
Yep. We'll probably be close at half, right? Michigan can hang.
Yeah,
but
I think Texas a 7.5-point favorite. That's like a gift.
Texas just feels like they're on a mission.
Yeah,
this year
they're gonna steamroll as many people as they can.
Now, caveat:
early and as fast.
Sark is the most neurotic coach ever.
Oh yeah, it's not the team that's gonna ruin it.
Fully panic.
Sarkisian's gonna ruin it.
Like we were joking in our fantasy draft the other day about panic picks, right? Like that happens in a draft. He panics for the entire fourth quarter if it's close. That dude's gonna straight up have a heart attack on the football.
Yeah, dude.
Field. Looks like he's having an aneurysm. But
remember to work on a Drew Lock?
Yeah.
Not a
Bowling Green at Penn State. Penn State is a 35-point favorite. Again, that's a large number. Bowling Green is not good. So I'm taking Penn State to win and cover.
I'm taking Penn State to win. I think Bowling Green is better than people think they are. Their offense is actually pretty. They're not good, right? Just to cover, that's a big number, right? I think
35's big.
I think 24 is probably the number here, right? But Bowling Green can score. They can score, and they're. I think they're better than people think they are. So I'm going Bowling Green to cover.
Yeah, I got Penn State to win, Bowling Green to cover. I think it's gonna be 45-10.
Yeah.
I said that Indiana is a 48.5-point favorite. I just put that in as default because this game has no line. So I'm putting 7 touchdowns as our default. If ESPN can't give it a line, it's 7 touchdowns.
Okay.
Rhode Island at Minnesota, another game with no line. 49.5 or 48.5 point favorite Minnesota. In that case, I'm taking Minnesota to win, but not cover because 7 touchdowns is fucking bananas.
Same.
Akron at Rutgers. Rutgers is a 22.5 point favorite. This one feels about right, like 23, 24 point win. So like I'm picking Rutgers in both, but you can go ahead and pencil me in for a loss in the spread and I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah, this was a 50-50 shot for me at Rutgers. I'm going to take them both.
Yeah, I got Rutgers across the board.
I mean, Rutgers money line's pretty easy,
Yeah.
but the spread is a 50-50, so I'm going to give it to the home.
Exactly. Iowa State at Iowa. This is always a great football game. Like, I don't even care how good or bad the teams are. It's just one of these in-state games that seems to mean more. Iowa's a 3-point favorite at home. Basically, they're saying it's a coin toss. I'm taking Iowa at Kinnick mostly because of that defense.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth.
Michigan State at Maryland. We've got our very first Big Ten matchup of the season. Maryland is an 8.5 point favorite at home. We talked about how Michigan State struggled week 1. Can they figure it out week 2? I say no, but they do beat the spread. So 8.5 point favorite, I'd say Maryland by a score.
Okay. I think it's going to be Maryland by like 24.
Woo! Right. Holy smokes. That's pretty nuts.
I like, or not 24, sorry, 17. Did
better.
I do math bad?
Still pretty great.
I didn't see anything that I liked from Michigan State in their game.
Fair.
Maryland looked great. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong.
Fair.
Maryland, but Michigan State only gonna lose by 7 since Maryland went with the 3-stripe uniforms and they got rid of the super cool flags on the shoulders because those uniforms, those slapped. And I think against this Michigan State team, that would have been worth an extra 14 points.
Those were so ugly, but like in the cool way.
Dude, it's because it's super unique. Like, what other state school can put their state flag on their uniforms and have it like
it was cool on the shoulder pads.
It was not cool on the helmet. Yeah, it was cool on the shoulder pads, not cool on the helmet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Washington is a 24.5 point favorite against Eastern Michigan at Husky Stadium. I think they go ahead and cover that.
Yeah, I do too. Husky Stadium's a hard place to play. And I don't think the Huskies are they're not that great this year, but hard place to play. Eastern Michigan's not very good.
Yeah, I agree.
South Dakota at Wisconsin, another game with no line. So Wisconsin being a 7 touchdown favorite. I'm taking Wisconsin, but South Dakota, sorry.
Yeah.
Doing it. Week 2.
South Dakota to cover.
This was like actually kind of a toss-up for me because it's not South Dakota State.
Right.
This is South Dakota. But any Dakota football school for some reason is like pretty okay. So I'm going to take South Dakota to cover.
Against the spread?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the same. That's
South Dakota, just for everybody's reference, beat Northern State.
Northern what state?
Northern State. The
Cool.
Northern State Wolves. They don't even have a logo on ESPN.
How about they beat them?
45-3.
Yeah.
So
they are a public university in Aberdeen, South Dakota.
There you go. North State. Northern State.
Northern State Tech.
East-West University.
East-West University.
Think of a generic
at deliciousness.
Think of a generic wolf logo. That's Northern State's logo.
Yeah.
Wolf head.
All right. Kansas at Illinois. We previewed this one briefly earlier. I've got Kansas winning by at least 3 touchdowns against this garbage Illinois team.
You troll. No, I got Kansas winning, but Illinois covering out of spite. I don't know if they'll actually cover. I think a touchdown is about right. But I'm gonna say it's a 3-point win.
Blowout
for Kansas. Blowout.
Rock chalk all the way across the board.
Rock chalk, baby. Western Michigan at Ohio State. Ohio State's a 38.5-point favorite. I've got Ohio State big money covering.
Yep.
It's pretty boring so far. All right. Colorado at Nebraska.
Your picks are gross.
I'm pretty happy that I'm not going to be able to be watching either of these football games on Saturday because I'm going to be at the Green Day concert. And I think that's going to relieve a lot of stress off of my life. Or it's going to make more because I can't watch. I have changed this pick 3 or 4 times this week, and I'm going to go for the reverse Jinxie Cat on this one. I'm picking Nebraska to win. I'm picking Nebraska to cover. They're a 7.5-point favorite. I want to pick Colorado, and it will not surprise me if Colorado wins this game because they have 2 of the best football players in the country. To Eli's point, when we were talking about Colorado and kind of previewing this game, the Nebraska front scares me enough that I'm not confident in Colorado's ability to overcome that. Nebraska's going to try to control the clock. So the caveat here is if CU can get into a shootout and stay in it by stopping the run, CU can win this football game. So I'm not going to say that this is some sort of blowout. Nebraska by 10 probably feels about right. Something in the 34-24, 31-21 type range, I think is where we're living. Unfortunate. This hurts my soul. But again, I'm trying to be as objective as I possibly fucking can, and that's my analysis.
Yeah. I agree with you largely here. I had CU as against the spread, but I need to change that because that was never in my head. I think 10 is about the right number here. Like I said earlier, this Nebraska team had 8 sacks last year, right? And while the offensive line does look better, I don't think that is insanely better. Like stats are kind of saying it's they're better, but not a ton, right? And so against this pretty legit pass defense, I think they're going to struggle with this rush. They may not get the sacks that they did last year. They won't. They're not going to get 8 sacks this year. They're just not. But the pressure is going to be there for sure. So again, like you said, I think coming to a shootout, when you have Travis Hunter on the field, anything's possible. There are definitely paths that Colorado could take to win this game. It's not a shot in the dark here that Colorado wins this game. I think there's a decent chance. Just in my mind, I think Nebraska has the better overall team, while Colorado has the 2 best players. Nebraska has the better team, so I have them by 10-ish, 10 to 13.
Cameron, bring me back to earth, please.
I got CU by
baby.
I'd say by 10.
Had a baby.
I think that for all of the reasons and some of the improvements we've seen, I think you're right. It's going to be some sort of shootout. And if Colorado can get ahead and stay ahead, I'm thinking, 35-yard field goal, 5 seconds left. Just put it away.
Here, I'm going to change the ending for you. They're up by 3. Nebraska's driving. Dylan Raiola pulls some true freshman quarterback shit and tries to test Travis Hunter, who ends the game with a pick 6 as the clock runs out.
99-yard pick 6. Love it.
Travis Hunter would go down. He's too
No, he wouldn't. No, he would
yes,
not.
He would.
If it's all green grass in front of him and the clock's running out, he's running that into the fucking end zone all day.
I don't know, man. He seems like the type who's too chill for that.
He's too fast for everybody. Nobody's going to catch him. He's got no risk of fumbling. He's going into the end zone.
He'll be in the opposite red zone before he realizes he's beating everybody.
Nebraska. Rub it in their fucking face.
Yeah, I mean, they won
These
by...
guys don't care about that.
They do. At least they say they do.
I mean, I'd love to see CU beat them and beat them big. I think a win's a win here if CU were like wholeheartedly if they win by 3.
1,000,000%. I don't even
Um,
care how ugly it is. If you can escape Nebraska with a win this week, huge.
Yeah,
Huge.
and I agree. This would be a great week 3 game. Week 2, if this was week 3, then you start with North Dakota State, then you go to Colorado State, not too far
just
away,
step up.
and you kind of it's still
Yeah.
you kind of build up
I agree.
to this one. Having it week 2 it's gonna be a
Not
little bit
great.
of test, and we got to see what they did in this off week. So as long as Shador can get away with half as many sacks, maybe one less, a little less pressure. I don't know what the O-line's going to be able to do in a handful of days, but I want this. That's what
Yeah,
it's not.
I
This
think
is a want pick.
I just think that Colorado is going to have to be one dimensional again, and I don't like. It's hard to see you beating the Nebraska team.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Like I said, there's paths. There's paths there. I don't see it.
It's an uphill battle. If this was
Yeah.
at Folsom, I think I'd be singing a different tune.
I would agree.
It would at least be closer. But I like the pick 6 to end it. I like it. Boise State at Oregon. Oregon's a 19.5-point favorite. I think this is a major, major bounce back. This team's going to be pissed off, like I said. Dan Lanning's going to be pissed off. Coaching staff across the board is going to be pissed off. They have said all offseason, unsolicited to reporters that were in Eugene, that they are very aware that they've never beat Boise State. I think they've got something to prove here, and they're going to prove it. I've got Ducks, big money, probably 24 to 31 point win.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the bounce back game. I think they're, like you said, they're going to come out pissed off. And they now have something to truly prove. And I think they're going to make a statement here. If there's anything Dan Lanning's good at, it's a statement win when they really need one.
Yep.
So I think the Ducks big here. I think more than anything, it's just matchup. I think Oregon
it's a good
really
matchup.
well. It's a good matchup for Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon big. Oregon bigger if we can get LeGarrette Blount to be an honorary captain.
That'd be great.
Go out there for the coin flip.
I'm pretty proud of that take, by the way, that I texted you guys. I'm pretty proud of that, and I hope it happens for the listener. I texted these guys, I think it was yesterday. I said, Dan Lanning should bring LeGarrette Blount back as an honorary captain, and he should show up in full Oregon boxing gear.
That'd be great. That'd be so sick.
Guaranteed win, probably by 60 at that point, if that's what happens.
Ducks by a milli, baby.
Ducks by a milli. All right. And then we end our Big Ten slate with Utah State at USC. USC is a 28.5-point favorite. USC 6 touchdowns feels about right. So
yeah, USC big.
USC big. Cameron, you agree?
Oh yeah. Did you guys see the USC like hype video from last week?
No.
Where I don't think they understand who was in the Trojan horse in Greek mythology, because the video put them in the Trojan horse. Like, unless they learned and it was just a 2.0 situation, then cool, gotcha. But it's a video school, like it's a media school, not a history school, so I get it.
That's not even true, though.
But like, yeah, like it was in the background that kind of went forward, and all of a sudden you're inside the horse, and it's just a bunch of Trojans. And I was like, that's not. And then everyone on Twitter was like, that's not the point. I was like, yeah, but like you're the Trojans, like you should at least kind of know the story, right?
But like this, like the horse is a bad thing for the Trojans.
It's like exactly the point.
Yeah. Like everyone knows this, and you guys don't. It's
right. Like LSU should have put out that video with a bunch of tigers in the horse.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The horse, yeah.
That would have been great, by the way, if you had dueling videos with the same thing, except one was very right and the other was very not.
That'd be pretty great. But like,
think that would have
USC
been
has like a lot of like very prominent historians. So like that's like insane to me.
Oh, they're
Well,
not going to consult the historians.
that video
and
did not make it to the history department
No, it
or the literature department or English. Like no one
No.
outside of marketing
Classics.
and yeah. Someone needs to go read the Iliad right now.
Yeah,
Or
right.
just like, open Google.
Yeah. Right.
All right, let's get into the non-Big Ten matchups. We've got a few of them here. Arkansas at Oklahoma State. Arkansas with an impressive week 1 win, 70-0. Oklahoma State, widely considered as the favorite or second favorite in the Big 12. Both looked impressive week 1. Oklahoma State is a 7.5 point favorite at home. I'm taking them to cover.
Me too. Oklahoma State really impressed me. South Dakota State is a great team as well. Like
we had that them on upset alert.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Idaho, all great FCS teams. And Oklahoma State was the only one who like really truly just blew the great FCS team out of the water and showed them what what high level FBS play looks like. I was really impressed with that performance. I didn't watch Arkansas's game, to be completely transparent here. So I don't really know, but Oklahoma State really impressed me with their win. So I'm going with them all the way.
Yeah, Oklahoma State across the board.
Kansas State at Tulane. Sneaky good game here. Tulane's a good program. And Kansas State going on the road. It's going to be really fucking hot in New Orleans. Kansas State's a 10-point favorite. I'm taking Kansas State in this, but I'm saying Tulane's going to cover.
Saturday is supposed to be 83.
Okay,
What's
not
the
super
humidity?
hot.
Still.
What's the heat index?
And raining. It's 83 and rainy.
100% humidity. Love it.
I'm gonna go Kansas State and Kansas State to cover. I don't know why, gut feeling.
Yeah.
No real analysis here, just gut feeling.
I'm with you.
Cool. I hope I'm right. Baylor at Utah. We got our first Big 12 matchup of the season. Utah entering Big 12 play against Baylor at home. Utah's a 14-point favorite. I've struggled with the line here because 14 seems like the fucking number to me. I have Baylor written down to beat the spread. Utah's going to win. That's should be a given for us. I'm going to change it. I'm going to say Utah covers. They played pretty well week 1. Cam Rising's back. I think Utah can cover, but 14 feels like the right number to me.
Yeah. 14 feels about right to me too. My difference here is Cam Rising and Keithy, their tight end, are both back and both in top shape, it looks like, after last week. So I got Utah win, Utah cover.
I got Utah to win. Baylor's going to win against the spread.
I just think Baylor's not good, man.
We will find out on Saturday.
Yep.
Cal at Auburn. Auburn's a 13-point favorite. Auburn looked pretty good week 1, but the SEC just has a history of, and I'm going to call them a Pac-12 team. I know they're not, but underestimating Pac-12 schools.
I think they're still a Pac-12 school for another couple of years.
Yeah. I've got Auburn winning this one. I've got Cal beating the spread.
Yeah, I do too. I think like Cal played UC Davis last week and looked pretty good. UC Davis isn't, again, not a scrub team. Auburn looked good too. But I think Cal's a little sneaky on this one. This is my upset of the week, but I'm still picking Auburn to win and Cal to cover. But like if I'm picking an upset this week, it's Cal winning over Auburn.
Could see it. Cameron.
Yeah, I think Auburn's going to win, but Cal's going to keep it close for a lot longer than they're planning on. And they're just going to run out of time with Auburn on top.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Tennessee at NC State. We've got an SEC ACC matchup this season that has not boded well for the ACC. And historically, it really hasn't. Tennessee's an 8-point favorite. I'm struggling with the line again because this feels about right. I'm pretty high on NC State. I'm picking Tennessee, and I'm picking them to cover, but I'm not happy about it.
It's fair. I'm going Tennessee to win. But like I feel like this is going to be like one of those games where it's going to be like a fun shootout that's like, somebody gets up by 3 and then it's like touchdown. So it's like a 3 or 4 point difference for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So I have Tennessee to win, but NC State to cover.
Yeah, I got Tennessee across the board. I don't know why. It just seemed right. I like Tennessee.
Hey, gut feelings are valid picks here.
I want them to be.
Yeah, especially in the spread.
Yeah.
App State at Clemson got the Giant Killers. Clemson reeling from that Georgia loss. Are they going to bounce back? I say Clemson wins and Clemson covers.
Yeah, I have Clemson winning, Clemson covering. I think they bounce back again. I said it last week. I'll say it this way. I said it earlier in the episode. I think that Georgia drubbing doesn't mean Clemson's a bad team. I think that was just the annual Georgia drubbing in week 1. So I'm taking Clemson both.
Cameron.
I got Clemson to win, but App State's gonna keep it interesting, and they're gonna beat the spread.
Okay.
Texas Tech at Washington State. Washington State is a 2-point favorite. I'm picking the Red Raiders to go into Pullman and come out with a win.
I think this is going to be the most fun game to watch in this week.
Yep, I agree.
This is going to be insane.
One of them, anyway.
Yeah. Like, this is going to be so much fun to watch this game. But I have Texas Tech pulling out the technical upset here.
Cameron.
So I have Washington State. Because
They look good.
They do look pretty good. And Lubbock's not a great city, but Pullman's so much worse. And you got to go there and play a team that lives there. They got nothing to lose.
Yeah, but the stadium sucks. It's not like they have like good home field advantage.
Yeah, you know what? But the upside.
It's not in the middle of winter either.
Yeah, but Texas Tech gets to escape and go back to Lubbock. That's the best thing that's going to happen to them on Saturday. is going back to Lubbock. Pullman, Washington State has to stay in Pullman, so they might as well get a win.
It's fair.
Okay, here's the thing. Pullman, Saturday is supposed to be 96.
Ooh.
Which actually favors Texas Tech in my opinion.
Yeah, but they got ice cream at the stadium. So
dude, that ice cream is
ice cream slapped.
That ice cream
best part about that trip.
The only good part about that trip.
Yeah, that was a trauma-inducing trip.
That place sucked. Remember when I had to walk through downtown Spokane without a flip-flop?
Well, you probably shouldn't have worn flip-flops in Spokane.
Everybody else was wearing flip-flops.
Nope, I wore shoes because needles. It's Spokane.
No, because I remember because everyone else was wearing flip-flops. But Jack Brazil, that son of a bitch, he stepped on the back of my flip-flop with his flip-flop and it tore out. And so
boys, that's why we wear slides now, because we're adults and they don't have one point of contact anymore. Yeah, right. They don't rip.
Hell, I'm wearing Tevas now, baby.
All right, let's get to our best bets real quickly. We
should probably start calling these worst bets, honestly.
Worst bets.
Best bets for me.
I originally had the Colorado-Nebraska.
Oh, you should have kept it
under on this. And the more we talked about it, the more I don't like that bet. So I'm taking Texas -7.5. I feel very good about Texas in this game. I don't love picking the road team generally in these, but maybe I should just start going against the grain because the grain's not working.
You're just picking bets now that you know I'm going to lose.
Cameron, you keep saying that, and then you don't fucking lose them.
Well, you've been picking obscure bets.
That's fair. Last week wasn't obscure. It was Colorado -10. I still lost. Eli.
My best bet is Liberty over New Mexico State, 22.5. Liberty's a good team. New Mexico State is not a very good team. Had a good back half of their season last year. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. Liberty beating the spread at 22.5.
All right.
That's it, huh? We did it.
That's it. Eli, you get our buzzer beater this week.
Episode.
What?
It's a long episode.
Dude, we're into college football. They're going to be long.
Gonna happen.
That's how it goes. Eli,
you
your
didn't take
buzzer
up time
beater.
with 30 minutes of Formula One.
Listen, I can contribute in two areas. One is color commentary, the other is Formula One. Give me with
Also,
my druthers.
To be fair to Cameron, it would have been 20 minutes of Formula One if it wasn't for your weird interjections.
You interrupted me twice in the Formula One segment.
Yeah, I was talking about interesting stuff. I was reminiscing about our podcast.
All right, I'm going to play you off. Here we go.
Well, no, Jamie has to. Don't play us off yet. Stop that.
Listener, thank you for tuning in. We love you. And viewer, for those of you that were viewing, we love you all. Zeta June, thank you for letting us use your music. You guys rock. Go check them out on your favorite streaming platform. Super producer Cam, great as always. Thanks for doing what you do. Say bye, Cameron.
Bye, Cameron.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Eli, please take us away.
My buzzer beater this week is to all you Oregon fans out there who are freaking out. Take it from Aaron Rodgers and just relax.
Deuces.
Fire.